Days after former Senator Leila de Lima was taken hostage in Camp Crame by a former Abu Sayyaf member, calls to free her from detention amplify. Malacañang, however, says President Marcos will not intervene in de Lima's drug cases. While authorities are investigating Sunday's incident in the National Police Headquarters, some lawmakers believe the president has the moral authority to free the former senator, as most witnesses against her have already recanted their testimonies. Good evening, I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual.
Sabi raw ni President Bongbong, so totoo pa lang na hostage ka after Senator Leila gave her narrative sa ng insidente. So that's yung sumunod na yung, so tell me what you want para siguro matulungan siya. At it was a casual phone call. Senator Leila de Lima, we have to understand ng mga sandaling yun, medyo traumatized pa rin. So, hindi pa masyado nakapagsalita ng maayos.
Attorney Bonita Cardon, one of Leila de Lima's lawyers there, explaining what transpired during that telephone conversation between President Bongbong Marcos and the senator. Secretary of the DILG, Benhard Abalos, had called President Marcos so that he and the senator could speak. Our guests tonight, we're going to start off with the division chief of the Strategic Communication Division of the Commission on Human Rights, Mark Shapno. And later on the show, Justice Assistant Secretary and DOJ spokesperson, Attorney Miko Clavano, joins us, and the lawyer, former Senator Leila de Lima, Attorney Bonita Cardon. But we'll begin with Attorney Mark. Magandang gabi po sa inyo, Attorney Mark. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, Ms. P, and thank you for having us in your program.
Yeah, well, Attorney Mark, let's begin with this. No? First, when that hostage-taking incident transpired on Sunday, the CHR, of course, expressed extreme concern about that incident, right? Can you just run us through, take us through what you said on Sunday morning?
The Commission on Human Rights expresses grave concern on the incident, the hostage-taking incident, because it puts into serious question not only the safety of Senator Leila de Lima, but as well as the persons deprived of liberty occupying the PNP Custodial Center. There are certain standards, human rights standards, that detention facilities, particularly the Nelson Mandela rules, that the government needs to follow, and so these form part of the basis as to the expression of concern.
Mm-hmm. However, Attorney Mark, Senator de Lima, at least until today, has said, and we're going to get her lawyer on the air in just a bit, but she has already said that she would prefer to stay, so far, to stay in the PNP custodial facility in Camp Crame.
That's why at this point, we're not only looking at, of course, freeing the eventual release of Senator de Lima, given the merits of the case, would have to be factored in eventually. But of course, as the national human rights institution of the country, one of our duties is to also take a look at the conditions in detention facilities, as well as to provide ample recommendations to government on how to go about it. Should Senator de Lima opt to continue to be in the PNP Custodial Center, definitely there has to be reforms that needs to be implemented at this point. But of course, as we continue to remind government, these need to be factored in alongside all human rights standards and treaties that the government have agreed to take upon themselves.
Attorney Mark, there is a lot of talk about possible house arrest, furlough, or even bail, for example, or eventually walking free. Maraming usapan ng ganoon. How does the CHR look at that?
From the get-go, ang sabi namin dyan ay dapat talaga gumulong mas mabilis ang gulong ng hustisya. Hindi lang para kay Senator Leila de Lima, para din sa ibang mga persons deprived of liberty. And this is important simply because it is a fundamental human right as stated in our Constitution. But of course, syempre alam naman natin na marami na rin ang mga witnesses ang nag-recant na kanilang mga state testimonies and statements. And so we continue to also join the opinion that these need to be also taken into consideration given the questions on the possibilities of what's next for Senator Leila de Lima. If it's, of course, the eventual release of Senator Leila de Lima, whether it could be based on allowing her to post bail or whether this leads into the eventual agreement of to a house arrest, everything needs to follow the rule of law.
All right. You're referring, of course, to three people who recanted their testimonies. The first one was Kerwin Espinosa. Although he is not a witness in any of the cases, he did retract his allegations. Rafael Ragos, the Bureau of Corrections chief, retracting his testimony against her. So did Ronnie Dayan, her former bodyguard and driver. But we're going to ask questions about that also kay Miko Clavano, the spokesperson of the DOJ. Just one last question, Attorney Mark Shapno of the CHR. So there were three Abu Sayyaf who attempted to escape. The first two were killed before the third one, Sulayaw Jr., was able to get a hold of Senator De Lima. Yesterday, I spoke to Colonel Mark Pespes, and he described what happened. He said his primary consideration, of course, is to get both hostage taker and hostage out alive. But he did have to consider what he did to one of the PNP guards, used a fork on him to stab him, and he was very wary about what Sulayaw could do to Senator De Lima. And he had to make that split-second decision to shoot him when he had that chance. No, but how does the CHR look at that scenario? No, how the Abu Sayyaf detainees were treated or were dealt with?
That's why we said, Ms. Pia, that from the get-go, this discussion should be, while we discuss the welfare of Senator Leila de Lima, we also need to take a look at the general condition in the prison and detention facility. Because if we were able to take a look at the affidavit of former Senator Leila de Lima, and one of the things that Sulayaw allegedly mentioned was that they were being fed pork in the detention facility despite the fact that they are practicing Muslims. If proven true, these things needed to be put in consideration as form part of the reforms that we're talking about. Simply because, sabi ko nga po, hindi dapat natin pinapabayaan yung kalagayan ng ating mga persons deprived of liberty dahil sila rin ay may karapatang pantao. But more importantly, given that we're also talking about the incident in episodes, this proves the fact that we also need to take a look at coming up with a more comprehensive report of what led to the hostage taking and what are the motivations of the persons under police custody that were in question. Because at the end of the day, sabi ko nga, hindi lang dapat ang pagtingin natin ay sa insidenteng ito. Kailangan medyo malayo rin ang ating pagtanaw.
Mm-hmm. Well, all those points you brought up, including the allegation that they were being fed pork in that detention facility, all under investigation by the PNP hierarchy, as already assured by PNP Chief General Jun Asurin. Attorney Mark Shapno of the Commission on Human Rights. Sir, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're going to be back after a quick break. Please stay tuned to Politics as Usual.
Habang nandun na hostage si Senator, tinalian, piniringan ng mata, humihingi na kung ano-ano, ng hammer, ng helicopter, etc. Pero mabilis mag-isip si Colonel Pespes. Nung siya hininga ng tubig, binigyan niya yung tubig na paganito. Pagbigyan niya ng tubig, ito yung kanyang kanang kamay. Binaril niya sa ulo.
It's addressed to the discretion of the judge who has placed the accused in the custody of the court. Good judgment dictates that they should allow bail to Senator De Lima, or if not, allow house detention.
She should not have been in jail in the first place the past half decade. And so with greater urgency, I call upon the President to do the moral and the legal thing and to set her free. Almost all of the witnesses against her in the cases filed by the previous administration, halos lahat sila riyan nag-recant na ng testimony nila.
Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Still with us, Justice Assistant Secretary and spokesperson of the DOJ, Miko Clavano, and one of the lawyers of former Senator Leila de Lima, Attorney Bonita Cardon. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, gentlemen. Let's begin with spokesperson Miko Clavano. So the President Marcos, as pointed out by Congressman Ed Salagman, who I interviewed earlier on Newsnight, cannot dictate upon the judiciary, but government prosecutors are under his control. Has there been any communication whatsoever from Malacañang to your department about what to do with Leila de Lima's cases, given that witnesses have recanted? As I already said earlier, and very quickly, CNN Philippines research showing on April 28, Kerwin Espinosa, although not a witness, retracting his allegations against Leila de Lima. And of course, this is two weeks before the elections. 2 days later, April 30, Rafael Ragos, former Bureau of Corrections chief, retracting his testimony. Also, 4 days after the elections, May 13, Ronnie Dayan, driver bodyguard of Leila de Lima, also recanting his allegations. What are the next steps? Any communication whatsoever?
Hi, Ms. B. Thank you for having me on your show. Well, there has been no communication yet from the President's office as to what the direction would be. However, it was a very welcome development that the President did open dialogue with Senator De Lima regarding what she wanted after the hostage taking had occurred. With regards to your second point as to the Secretary of Justice having control of the National Prosecution Service, that's right. No, we do have control over the National Prosecution Service. However, the case is already in court, as already mentioned by the President himself. And even if we did recommend the withdrawal of the information, the co-equal branch in government, the judiciary, which is well, of course, found in the Constitution to be a co-equal branch, will have the first or primary jurisdiction over the case. Right. Once the complaint or information in court is filed, the court acquires jurisdiction over the case, and it has the authority to hear and determine the outcome of the case. So, yeah, we will of course take the lead, of the President, and it seems as though Senator De Lima is comfortable where she is. She was offered a home furlough. She was also offered to transfer to a separate or a different detention facility, to which she declined. So the Department of Justice, we do play a quite passive role in this case. It's the court that should decide on the matter.
You're right. It is, Attorney Miko, the court that does decide the matter. Ang Pangulo hindi naman talaga pwedeng diktahan ang mga huwes na nag-handle nga sa mga kaso laban kay Leila de Lima. However, like you did mention already, and as we already showed earlier on the show, the President did make that phone. Secretary Ben-Hur called the President para makapag-usap sila ni Leila, and the President did tell her, "Tell me what you want," quote unquote, "Tell me what you want." The other question here is in middle of June, so this was like 2 weeks before the elections, then Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara, and this was after all these recantations of Ragos, Dayan, and Espinosa. He said that the DOJ would not drop the charges versus De Lima because he said prosecutors had said, quote, "there is good reason to continue the active prosecution of De Lima." So we are, anong date na tayo ngayon? October, nakalimutan ko na date na tayo ngayon. But we are in the middle of October. What? 14? 12, October 12, sorry. October 12. And so it's been about 3.5 months since a new DOJ secretary has taken over. Has there been a change in this tone? Is there going to be a shift in prosecution, the way this case is going to be prosecuted, or is it you're going to stay the course? Things are going to remain the same?
Actually, Ms. P, the DOJ has already presented all the evidence, and it is now the turn of the defense to present their evidence. So, given that we've completed our presentation, we believe that there's a case, no, and it really is up to the defense to present their evidence, their witnesses, and the testimonies to counter the evidence already presented by the panel of prosecutors in the case. And we did have a dialogue with the panel of prosecutors, and the tone is the same. We do believe that there is a case, and that's shown by the evidence that we have on hand and that we presented in court.
Can you refresh our memories about what other evidence you have and what other testimonies you have that will prove that you still do have a case against Leila de Lima?
Actually, Ms. P, I have to tread lightly and very carefully on this because of the sub judice rule, which does restrict the comments and disclosure. So I mean, as far as I can say, no, there are witnesses that have testified to the illegal drug trading accusations and allegations that we have filed in court. There are physical evidences as well, documentary evidence that have been presented. And we do believe that all this put together paints a good picture of the alleged crime that the former senator had committed.
Okay. Remind us na lang, sino pa yung mga testigong naiwan o natira?
I don't think I'm at liberty to say the full slate of witnesses that we have left. Okay. It will be the strategy of the prosecutors to present them as needed. And well, as far as I can say, there are about 5 to 7 witnesses still up for direct examination and cross by the defense.
All right. Attorney Miko Clavano, please stay still with us on the show. I'm going to speak first to Attorney Bonnie Tacardon. Attorney Bonnie, thank you very much for joining me tonight, as you did on, was that Monday or yesterday? But anyway, I wanted to ask you first. Now, earlier kasi on Newsnight, nakausap ko po si Congressman Ed Silagman, and I asked about the political tone, given that the political tone behind that phone call, okay? Given that President Marcos won in a landslide victory against the opposition, of which Leila de Lima was a part of. She ran for the Senate but lost. This is the president reaching out to the opposition in general and to Leila in particular. I know this is kind of a bit of a stretch for you because you're a lawyer, but this is quite a departure from the years under Rodrigo Duterte. You will agree, right? I mean, President Marcos could have chosen not to call her, not to speak to her on the phone, but he did.
As far as the defense team is concerned, we really appreciate the gesture of President Bongbong Marcos in reaching out to Senator Leila de Lima and talking to her personally and inquiring about her condition after the hostage-taking incident. So this is really different from what we have experienced from the past administration.
Senator Leila underwent stress tests and 2D echo test, a stress test and a 2D echo test today. Is that correct, Attorney Bonnie?
A series of medical tests as part of the general checkup, and they were able to conclude the stress test and 2D echo, and according to the doctors, the results will be out by tomorrow. So we pray that the results will be it will be a normal result for Senator Leila de Lima as far as her stress test and her 2D echo test are concerned.
Okay. I brought up the stress test because we're going to emphasis tayo dun sa stress because I am presuming, Attorney Bonnie, that you are about to get very stressed out. As ASEC spokesperson of the DOJ, Miko Clavano, is pointing out, the defense is going to go on the defense, and now it's going to be your turn. You still have to question the remaining witnesses. Can you tell us, sino pa ba yung mga natirang mga testigo laban kay Leila de Lima na kailangan yung questionin? What other evidence are you going to try and challenge? Are you at liberty to talk about that?
Let me just put it in the proper perspective, okay? There are two cases, and in one case, that is correct, the prosecution was able to complete the presentation of their defense out of their evidence, and it's now the turn of the defense to present their evidence, pieces of evidence. No? In the other case, criminal case number 167, it is still the prosecution who's presenting evidence, and this is part of the pending application for bail submitted by Senator Leila de Lima before the court. And insofar as this case is concerned, we are now down, or the prosecution said they are down to two witnesses to present in opposition to the application for bail of Senator Leila de Lima. So in the other case, it is now Ronnie Dayan who is presenting his evidence in support of his defense. And among his chosen witnesses is actually Director Rafael Ragos, who initially was already allowed by the court to testify. But we have to defer his testimony because the panel of prosecutors are now filed a motion for reconsideration and is praying that the court withdraw the subpoena issued to Director Ragos.
With that petition for bail, what do you think are the chances now, given that you had that phone call from the president, with the president, telling her, tell me what you want, and things seem to have eased up a bit?
Will be, as ASEC Labano earlier said, we will be bordering on the sub judice. But we are ready to confront the last two witnesses of the prosecution, and we hope that we can immediately terminate all these proceedings, so the court will be given the chance to finally resolve the application for bail of Senator Leila de Lima.
All right. More from our guests, Attorney Miko Clavano, the spokesperson of the Justice Department, and Attorney Bonita Cardon, a lawyer for former Senator Leila de Lima. More from them when we return. This is Politics as Usual.
The very reason po why she's in DPNP-GH, kasi nga po ay unang-una ay inaayos po yung dati niyang kulungan at hinahanapan po siya ng lilipatan. Parang sa ganun ay hindi po niya naaalala kung ano man po yung masamang experience po niya doon sa dati po niyang facility.
Kung yun yung nakita ko, ma'am, I confirm, ma'am. Pero kagaya ng sinabi ng ating chief na it doesn't represent
the entire incident. Right,
yes,
of course. Oh, that was,
so, pa rin yung umpisa lang yun at it's unfortunate for us also. Hindi naman namin gustong i-cover yun.
Yes.
Kaya in-identify din namin yun at may ongoing investigation para sa personnel na gumawa niyan.
The Secretary of Justice has control and supervision over the prosecution of criminal cases. With more reason, the principal himself, the President, has control and supervision. Kaya pag sinabi ng Pangulo na yung mga prosecutors kailangan na magpala ng motion to dismiss sa isang criminal case sapagkat walang sapat na ebidensya, iyan ay hindi interference sa husgado.
You're still with Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros, and I have to say this, Attorney Bonnie, I was wondering if you're thinking the same If not for Colonel Pespes, something bad could have happened to Leila de Lima.
I agree, Ma'am Pia, I agree. In fact, based on the statement of Senator Leila de Lima, when Sulayaw gave that deadline for PNP to comply with his demands, he specifically said to Senator de Lima that papatayin din naman nila ako, isasama na kita. And a few minutes later, this Sulayaw started praying, and repeated his threat to Senator de Lima, saying that, "Ma'am, papatayin na po nila ako. So, pasensya ka na, isasama kita." And at that time, the pointed improvised knife was he was pressing that improvised knife into the chest of Senator Leila de Lima near her heart. So that is what's bothering actually Senator Leila de Lima at this time. So if not for the immediate action and quick thinking of Colonel Pespes, things would have really been different.
And that is why a split-second decision and very good judgment on the part of Colonel Pespes is so crucial in a hostage-taking incident like that. All right, let's go into final words now. Let's begin with Attorney Miko Clavano, DOJ spokesperson. What are we looking at in the next few days and weeks, Attorney Miko?
Well, Ms. P, we are still going to continue with the prosecution of the two cases against the former senator. What is paramount here is, well, the safety of the former Senator de Lima. We are happy and we are relieved that despite the tragic incident that happened in the detention center, that she is safe and secured. And it seems that even despite the offer given to her by the president and the secretary of the DILG, that she's willing to stay at the detention center. And the secretary is just coming back from a trip from Geneva, where he attended 2 conventions, and he also engaged in certain dialogues with the UN. In fact, he reaffirmed his commitment to upholding human rights. And so we can be assured that the Department of Justice will take all measures to really secure the health and safety of the former senator. But that doesn't mean that there's no case here. The panel of prosecutors have worked day in and day out into painting a story for the judge to make out of. And just like my Paniero, we just want to make sure that justice is carried out. We're not saying that she's guilty. We're not saying that she's not guilty, because it's for the courts to decide on that.
And of course, the defense has its work cut out for it too. Attorney Bonita Cardon, my final question to you is this. Leila de Lima has been in detention since February 2017, and that's about 5 years and give or take 8 months. How much longer do you think she will be there? Will she be there? What is your gut feel? Will she get bail or at the very least, or is she going to walk free? Or is she going to stay longer in detention because of her cases?
Please believe, Ma'am Pia, that at the end of the day, the truth will come out. And the truth will all set us free. Senator Leila believes that she is innocent of all these trump-up charges filed against her. And I'm happy to hear from ASEC Clavano that the DOJ is really interested in giving Senator Leila de Lima justice. And maybe we can start with Deputy Director Ragos, and I hope that the prosecution panel will eventually withdraw their opposition to Deputy Director Ragos taking again the witness stand, so he can finally tell the court what he knows about the the efforts undertaken by the former administration in order to develop these trump-up charges against Senator Leila de Lima.
Oh,
Now,
so- yeah.
we all want the truth here in this case, and allowing Deputy Director Ragos to testify would give the court the opportunity to really determine whether which testimony of Director Ragos should be believed in, no, the previous testimony or his recantation. But if we will continue to prevent the Deputy Director Ragos from testifying, we will be actually depriving not only the judge, not only the court, but the entire Filipino people of knowing the real truth behind these the trump-up charges against Senator Leila de Lima.
Okay, so dali lang.
We
May
are
pa- oo.
hoping that yes. Yes,
Sorry.
yes, Ma'am Pia.
Oh, one last line na lang from you, Attorney Bonnie. You were hoping that? One last sentence.
I'm hoping that the defense panel and the prosecution panel will at least finally come to terms insofar to permit the testimony of Director Ragos. We are willing to listen to Deputy Director Ragos, and I hope the prosecution is also willing to listen. The prosecution panel will not be deprived of the right to cross-examine and test the integrity and credibility of the retraction of Deputy Director Ragos. And we are with them in finally determining the truth. So,
all right.
The key here, we believe, is the testimony of Director Ragos.
Okay, pahabol na tanong na lang kay Attorney Clavano. Miko, one phrase answer response to what Attorney Bonnie was saying, yung kay Ragos. One phrase response.
One phrase?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Well, the courts usually look with disfavor upon recantations. No, the judge's affidavit and his statement to begin with was very strong, and so we don't think that the sudden recantation does bear much weight.
All right. Maraming salamat to our guests tonight, Attorney Miko Clavano, spokesperson for the Justice Department, and Attorney Bonnie Tacardon, lawyer for former Senator Leila de Lima. Maraming salamat po sa inyong dalawa. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in group chats and risk warfare, digital and otherwise. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix. Politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m.